Until now, one assumed Boulder Dash would never get a port to Atari 2600. It's a complex game relative to those found on 2600, and due to its nature, it requires more than 128 bytes of RAM that are built into the console. But thanks to the modern advent of bank switching technology, the 2600's onboard RAM can be augmented with additional memory, and Homebrew authors Thomas Jenst and Andrew Davie managed to push the system to its limit. This is Homebrew Review. I am Mr. MegaManFan, and I'm quoting from the Atari Age page for Boulder Dash in their Homebrew section. Now, you can't find the demo ROM if you look there, but if you go into the Atari Age forums, you can, with minimal searching, pull up the ROM and try Boulder Dash for yourself. The reason this exists as a quasi-release, a demo, if you will, and not an official release available for purchase through the Atari Age store, is that, as mentioned on the page in the Homebrew section, this was owned and is owned by First Star, and First Star itself is now owned by BPG Entertainment, and if you're going to parse the intellectual property rights issues and put out a physical game for Atari 2600, you need to be able to do it economically. And I have a feeling that because BBG bought up the property of First Star, they're not going to license it for cheap. And then you put the manufacturing costs of putting it onto a cart on top of that, and it's going to be a money-losing proposition. So a demo version of it is probably the best we will ever see, but that makes what Thomas Jenst and Andrew Davie did no less impressive. Now, the way you play Boulder Dash is you move a miner named Rockford through a series of caves that are laid out in a rectangular shape, and each space is a block or a tile, whatever you would like to call it. Now, given the visual limitations of the Atari 2600, it will be kind of chunky and fat compared to playing the other versions of the game that are out there. But that doesn't mean it's unplayable. It just means you can only draw so many colors in an area and only move so many sprites on a scan line at a time. So these are the compromises they had to make to even make a playable Atari 2600 version at all. So whether you're playing with a joystick or a keyboard or an NES or cross-pad controller of some kind, what you have to do is dig your way through the tunnels. Anything that looks like dirt is solid, but if there's a rock above it, it'll fall once you move out of the way. And if there's a rock to the side, it'll fall into the space to the side of it, either to the left or to the right. So every move you make has to be calibrated with that thought in mind. And what you're trying to do ultimately is collect the diamonds that are in each of these mazes. And once you have enough of them, you will find a door that will allow you to exit the maze and proceed to the next maze. Fairly simple concept, right? But that doesn't make it any less addictive, which is why it's been ported to damn near everything, including this unofficial Atari 2600 port. It was on Atari 8-bit computers to start with, but soon made its way to the Apple II line of computers, Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, BBC Micro, NES, Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance, Macintosh, Nintendo DS, 3DS, and Android devices, among other things. I'm trying to think of anything Boulder Dash hasn't been ported to at this point, and the list is pretty short, whether they're official or unofficial. The ZX Spectrum version seems to be one of the most beloved out of all of them, probably because it pushed the limits of what the ZX could do at the time. I've seen scores as high as 93, 97%, almost perfect scores. So it fares better than certain ports like Game Boy, which only got 90%, and Commodore 64. Don't remember the score for that. I think the NES score was 92%. But none of them are really getting bad scores. They're just all relatively good to great scores. You really can't play a bad version of Boulder Dash, and this one is no exception. The only shame of it is that they couldn't work out the licensing rights to make this an official port, because this would be one that, if they could, it would be really sweet to buy an official copy from AtariAge.com, complete inbox with manual, everything looking lovely. But such is not the fate of this game, so for now, it will have to remain a demo ROM that you can find on the Atari Age forums and play for free to your heart's content. And one thing I will note as I start to wrap up this video is that my framing of the picture probably made these pixels even chunkier than they really would be. Just blowing it up to fill the screen as much as possible, I may have actually overstretched them just a little bit. So don't take that as a 100% representation of how it would look if you put it on a flash cart and put that in your Atari 2600, or if you played it on the Stella emulator of your choice. I still recommend it, whether you think this is the best looking version of Boulder Dash you've ever seen or not, but I definitely recommend the NES version, as that's probably my all-time favorite. But like I said, the ZX version gets really good reviews too. It's just an excellent old school computer game that got ported to a lot of home consoles, much like Lode Runner in that respect. And I have as much, if not more, respect for Lode Runner than Boulder Dash. Maybe I'm just more addicted to Lode Runner because I had it on the Commodore 64 growing up as a kid, but I just absolutely love that game. And there are no shortage of Boulder Dash clones too that aren't called Boulder Dash, but play pretty much exactly the same way this game does. It's been ripped off endlessly, what can I tell you? I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been Homebrew Review. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up to the video, and stick around for new content daily. There will always be something here to watch for you. I promise nothing but new content each and every day, and weekly series like Homebrew Review will be featured every Wednesday, as well as returning shows like Genesis Does, Retro Hunting Adventures, and the PC Engine Files. Always good stuff to watch. Thanks for being here. I'll see y'all later. Bye for now.